Good morning. Please be seated.
This is Dr. Joby, and today I'm going to be analyzing an interesting interpretation of Old Testament verses from Jeremiah 31:33 to 34 by Father Richard Rohr. Father Richard discusses Jeremiah's words and their implications for discovering inner authority. Here he is.
They aren't even encouraged to have inner experience. But what we have Jeremiah saying here, I will put the law within you. I'll write it on your heart. I'll be your God and you will be my people, which is the great covenant line that they often repeat. In the first reading, we have what is really one of my favorites from Jeremiah, where he's moving the Jewish religion beyond its, at that point, its external reliance upon external authority and beginning to plant the basis for inner authority. When you have those two in good balance, you tend to have very balanced people who can honor wisdom beyond them and bigger than them, but also can come to a point of inner experience and can say, I know for myself. And when your knowing meets the big knowing, you've got good knowing. That's the goal. Well, I must say, it isn't often achieved, at least in my experience. Being from the Catholic tradition, we have tended to emphasize the outer authority, and it can have the experience of keeping many people at a rather childish level. Well-intentioned, but they aren't even encouraged to have inner experience. But what we have Jeremiah saying here, I will put the law within you. I'll write it on your heart. I'll be your God and you will be my people, which is the great covenant line that they often repeat. And then he says, no longer shall they teach one another. So I said earlier, well, why am I up here? Fairly, if you get to that point, you don't need other people to tell you. All they can do is second the motion. You know it for yourself, and they tell you you're not crazy. So I hope whatever I'm saying this morning will tell you, I hope you're not crazy. You start seeing with what most of religions would call the eyes of God. And it's all about learning how to see. Religion is about learning how to see. And the broader you can see, the more you see with the eyes of God. It's so simple that it's hard to teach. It really is. Simple things are very hard to teach because for some reason we're convinced it should be complex.
If you are familiar with Richard Rohr and his work, you will know that he describes seeing through the eyes of God as a way to discover the true self, something I understand to be an immortal diamond, a hidden mystical treasure that we can't fully define. But is that really what it means to see with divine eyes? Maybe, but in my view, only if this treasure actually transforms us. Because if finding the true self doesn't change how we see, if it doesn't make us more humble, compassionate, forgiving, hopeful, and charitable, then what's the point? Maybe the real challenge isn't just discovering some deeper self. Maybe the real challenge is, can we allow it to change us? Because true vision, seeing with the eyes of God, means breaking free from rigid thinking. It means moving past ego, ideology, and tribalism. It means being open. Individual inner authority is essential for the evolution of human thought, ideology, and culture. The more we see and contemplate, the more we can transform and evolve. And if this happens, I say, we will learn to love one another.
I will put the law within you. I'll write it on your heart. I'll be your God and you will be my people, which is the great covenant line that they often repeat. And then he says, no longer shall they teach one another. So I said earlier, well, why am I up here?